PDP releases details of the Presidential Campaign Council and the Sokoto State Governor Aminu Tambuwal to lead the team as a Director General. And issues are raised over the integrity of the process leading up to the 2023 general elections. Tonight we'll discuss the issues and the way forward for INEC. Hello everyone, welcome to the program. This is Politics Today, live on Channels Television. I'm Sean Kimbale in Abuja. We continue our countdown on the strike action by university lecturers, the stalemate between the federal government and the University Electoral Association, ASU, which has now entered 217 days since February 2022, when the university lecturers went on strike based on the breakdown in the negotiation between the government and the lecturers. In this sense, the students are now being away from the classrooms, leaving them idle, and a lot of Nigerians are now looking forward to the stakeholders coming to the table and resolving this matter. Of course, the President, Muhammadu Buhari, has met with pro-chancellors and said he will get back to them to resolving what has become a national embarrassment. Tonight, Governor Aminu Tambuwal is the Director General of the People's Democratic Party Campaign Organization. Well, that campaign council will be inaugurated. But before then, we need to get a feel of what the task is. Now, the DG-ship of the Presidential Campaign Council of the PDP, what does it mean? How much of those issues will the PDP be able to put forward to Nigerians? We're getting all of those. And some of those issues that are bothering your mind as far as the election of 2023 is concerned, we'll also break those issues down for you. Stay with me, everyone, because we need to serve you your political roundup stories first.
The Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Farouk Yahaya, has charged men and officers of the Nigerian Army to adhere strictly to the rules of engagement and code of conduct during the 2023 electioneering period. He gave the charge at the closing of the 2022 Chief of Army Staff Third Quarter Conference held at the Army Headquarters Command Officers Mess in Asokoro, Abuja, where he enjoined them to quickly defeat those he describes as adversaries of Nigeria. He says the Nigerian Army remains loyal to the Constitution of Nigeria and assures that the state of security in the country will continue to improve in the days ahead.
The directive on the reviewed Nigerian Army rules of engagement and code of conduct in respect of our general elections should be adhered to strictly.
President Muhammadu Buhari has told the chairman and select members of pro-chancellors of universities that he will engage in further consultations and get back to them. In the meeting with the delegation led by Professor Nimi Briggs, the president promised to get back to them after further consultations with relevant stakeholders towards ending the protracted strike by university lecturers under the aegis of the Academic Staff Union of Universities, ASU. Meanwhile, the National Industrial Court has adjourned the suit filed by the federal government challenging the ongoing strike by the Academic Staff Union of Universities, ASU, to September 19 for a hearing of the interlocutory injunction of the federal government. At the resumed sitting, counsel to the federal government, Mr. James Igwe, asked the court to give the suit an accelerated hearing due to the urgency of the matter to enable students' return to school. Counsel to the Academic Staff Union of Universities, Mr. Femi Falano, says the union was currently meeting with stakeholders to ensure that the matter is resolved.
The government must be prepared to end this strike. Only the government can do so. Today.
The Adamawa State chapter of the All Progressives Congress has restated its commitment to ensuring victory for all its candidates in the forthcoming general elections. In the forthcoming general elections, under the leadership of the acting chairman of the party, Mr. Samaila Tadawus, addressing a news conference in Abuja, the publicity secretary, Mr. Muhammad Abdullahi, says the party remains a united family despite the resignation of Mr. Ibrahim Bilal as chairman of the party in Adamawa State.
Alhaji Ibrahim Bilal remains a loyal, dedicated and committed stakeholder of the party.
A pressure group of the North Central of Nigeria, United Middle Belt Youth Initiative, says their people are not second-class citizens in Nigeria to be used and dumped by both the North and South during every election cycle. Addressing journalists in Jos Plateau State, the national president of the group, Comrade Yakubu Sule, notes that the Middle Belt has been politically marginalized and cheated, as well as deprived of infrastructural benefits.
We are no longer allowed ourselves to be used as a tool by those that think that they are our slave masters.
The Northern Youth Assembly, which is a coalition of pressure groups in the region, is asking citizens of Zamfara State to ask questions about the state resources, including how federal allocations are utilized, as the state continues to suffer from the poor state of infrastructure. Addressing a news conference in Abuja, the group urges residents of Zamfara State to continue to demand accountability from their government, even in the face of threats to some of its members in the state.
The government of Zamfara State have been receiving allocation from the federal government. What have they been doing with the received money? The government has to stand up and do the right thing, not just watching people sharing money for their supporters.
And the Federal High Court, sitting in Gusau, the Zamfara state capital, has nullified the People's Democratic Party governorship primary election that produced Dawuda Lawal as the state governorship candidate of the party ahead of the 2023 general elections. In a judgment summarily delivered by Justice Aminu Bapa, the court granted all the prayers by the plaintiff, which is to nullify the primary election that produced Dawuda Lawal, and ordered a fresh primary election in line with the constitution and guidelines of the party. The youth wing of the All Progressives Congress in Oyo State took to the streets of Ibadan, the Oyo State capital, in their hundreds, canvassing support for their presidential candidate, Bola Tinubu, ahead of the elections. The youth rally began at the Oyo State office of the APC, Okeado, where leaders of the party addressed the youths on the essence of the peaceful rally, which was to garner support for all candidates of the APC at federal and state levels.
There you've been served with your political roundup stories. Now, let's get to it. First and foremost, our first point of call is the People's Democratic Party and its internal affairs amidst the intense debate over the leadership of the PDP, especially the call for the removal of the national chairman, Senator Iyorchia Ayu. The PDP organizing secretary has released the details of the Presidential Campaign Council members. So Omar Bature, the PDP National Organizing Secretary, announced the development in a document released to the public where Governor Udom Emmanuel of Akwa Ibom State has been named as the chairman of the PDP Campaign Council, while the Governor Aminu Tambuwal, the governor of Sokoto State, was appointed as the Director General. Mr. Bala Muhammad, the governor of Bauchi, has been listed as the vice chairman of the council in the north, and Mr. Sheyi Makinde, the governor of Oyo State, as the vice chairman in the south. All the PDP governors are among the members of the Presidential Campaign Council, including Governor Nyesom Wike of Rivers State. Senator Ike Ekweremadu, the former Senate president, who is standing trial in the United Kingdom over alleged organ harvesting, is also a member of the council. Other members of the council include the former Senate President Bukola Saraki, former governor of Cross River State, Liel Imoke, is the Deputy General, Director General of Operation. Professor Adewale Oladipo is the Deputy Director General, Administration, and Raymond Dokpesi is the Deputy General, Technical and Systems, and Senator Okezuele Unwodo is the Director General, Research and Strategy. Let's get some reactions now and what this means for the People's Democratic Party. There's been debate over inclusion and how the party is going to balance this equation of positions and roles ahead of the 2023 general elections. I'm being joined by a former Deputy National Publicity Secretary of the PDP, Mr. Diron Odeyemi, who joins us from Ibadan in Oyo State. Thank you so much, Mr. Odeyemi, for joining us tonight. Give us a sense of what you make of the membership of the PDP Presidential Campaign Council.
Thank you very much for having me. That we are able to constitute our campaign council is an indication that there is absolute peace in PDP, contrary to the impression or whatever anybody might be saying about the resignation of Ayu. In politics, we are bounded by a common interest, and that common interest is to win 2023 presidential election. There is no dispute in the fact that Alhaji Atiku Abubakar is our presidential candidate. All other issues are internal and we will resolve it. But we have moved forward, we have moved certain steps forward with the release of the campaign team yesterday. And from there, we move on.
So it's interesting to know that that's how the feeling is within your party. But let me ask you, does the appointment and the roles that has been shared, over 300 people are going to be members. But if you look at the leadership of the different directorates and the major roles that have been assigned, does that satisfy the Southwest, for example, where you belong, who have been clamoring that there is some kind of disaffection that we've seen within the people, the PDP in the Southwest? Does the PDP in the Southwest, do they now feel satisfied with the way and manner the council is being set up?
Since the campaign council was released yesterday, there has not been any dissenting voice. That means everybody who has been appointed to work for the presidential election have accepted. And just like I said, we are moving on simply because we know Nigerians are waiting for PDP. We don't want to disappoint Nigerians. And whatever is the issue among us, we will be treated as internal. And in politics, 24 hours is a long time. We will continue to dialogue, we will continue to talk among ourselves, and we will resolve whatever is the internal misunderstanding. But just like I said, we are not looking at the issue of certain numbers of stakeholders that are included in the campaign organization. Because the way and manner this campaign is going to be organized is such that we are going to carry the campaign to the polling units. So for the mere fact that a name does not appear as a member of the campaign council does not mean that he or she is not important in the party. This campaign is grassroots campaign, and we recognize everybody right from the polling units is going to be from bottom to the top. Let me put it that way in conclusion.
Oh, interesting. So, for those who are asking for the removal of Senator Iyorchia Ayu, the appointment of Governor Udo Mumanuel, you think will satisfy them right now? Does it satisfy? Does it give some kind of balance in now?
All the agitations for the removal of Ayu, all the demands that Ayu should resign, among the stakeholders, it is now a consensus of our opinion that we should step down that request because we don't have the luxury of time. If we are to start campaign on the 28th of this month, we don't want to run into constitutional issues that will derail us the more. There is no time to do that. But that is not to say that the Southwest or the South is not making a legitimate demand. Yes, the demand is legitimate and it is okay. But when we look at the time frame, we have come to the conclusion that we should first of all deal with the presidential election, after which we will come back to the table to give equality and justice where it is necessary.
All right. I'm being joined by Mr. Oladimeji Fabiyi. He's a member of the PDP and a very close ally of the PDP presidential candidate, Mr. Atiku Abubakar. Thank you so much, Mr. Fabiyi, for joining us.
Thank you very much.
What do you make? I asked Mr. Durand Odeyemi the same question. What do you make of the campaign council and the constitution?
Well, first, thank you for bringing me. The Atiku that we know is a man who understands the dynamics of politics in Nigeria. You can't take it away from him. The campaign council is one that is a first signal to the unity of the party we are talking about. Atiku being a unifier, that's one of the first things. That's the first signal, to both the PDP members and the people out there who are expecting something different. For His Excellency Atiku Abubakar, is about going into this election united, and that's why you've seen that all the governors, all the critical stakeholders were brought into that campaign council. So, and then from what I listened to from my brother, from Osun State, the former Deputy National Public Secretary, I think it's cheery. It's a cheery news, and we knew we were going to come to this because we've always told anybody who cares to listen that PDP has the capacity to settle this matter, its problem, its crisis internally, and that is what you've seen, at display now.
Is everything settled, really? Governor Wike, from what we've seen, is not given an active role.
He is given an active role.
As a member?
Yeah, of course.
Just like about 300 others.
Yes, those are the people that will decide what happens in this. So we have two things. We have the campaign and you have the election. Those are the people that will decide whatever happens and then what the party is going to do.
I mean, with all of this that your party has put forward, you think it's formidable enough to face oppositions like a third force of Labour Party, Peter Obi, and a ruling party of Bola Tinubu, and a northern strength of Rabi Kwankwaso?
That's why it's called election. It's democracy. All of these things will be left to Nigerians to decide. Nigerians know what they want. So on the side of the party is for you to sell your programs and policies to the people, sell your manifestos. So the people will decide. As far as we know, in PDP, Atiku, the PDP is more formidable than all of this. In 2019, PDP won the election, but that has gone into, it has been of history now. So PDP will repeat the same. So we're formidable enough to face anything. I challenge any of these candidates I just mentioned or this party. No one of them has been able to come out and say, this is what I'm going to do for the people, apart from Atiku Abubakar. I've not seen it, and I'm here to see it.
You think your candidate has a strong chance, considering the poll that was released by NOI and ANAP Foundation?
Poll has never decided our election. Elections are decided at the polling unit, not polls. Elections are decided. This is the reality.
A poll is a science.
It's not. And
elections,
it doesn't.
Politics is a science also.
Yes.
And in that sense,
elections are decided.
You can gauge. Just a moment. Yes. You can gauge the feelings and opinions of people in a random selection and come to an agreement on a possibility, a prediction, a projection that, as it stands in the United States, predictions and polling are very critical to the electoral process. And I mean, that same organization that did the polling projected and predicted that your party was going to win in 2011, and it won. It predicted that Buhari at some point was going to win an election. He won an election. So why do you think things are different now?
My brother, what is the total number of registered voters in Nigeria as of today? Over 90 million, if I'm right, or maybe 80-something million. And what is the number of people that participated in this poll? I want to know. So that still takes us back to what I just told you, that elections are not decided at the what do you call it?
For a scientific poll?
No.
But Nigerians are the ones who are responding.
Elections are decided at the polling units, at the voting point. And that has always been the trajectory, and to not change this time around. Even when I talk about most of these polls, they have never been the reason for a win or a lose.
No, I'm not sure, Mr. Odeyemi, maybe we should bring you into the conversation. I'm not sure the essence of a prediction of a polling is to determine who wins the election. Is a gauge on how the things might pan out eventually. But if your party is not in the lead as the poll is predicting, is it a caution or a sign to wake you up that you need to do better? or there is something that you need to
I
work on?
will answer you in two ways. The first is that I want to use Osun State as an example. The impression created around Senator Nuruddin Adeleke Jackson Ademola is that what he does is just dancing and wouldn't win an election. And I want to believe at the point in time you asked me this question yourself in Abuja, if we are actually going to win the election, because there has been predictions, there has been this kind of a survey. But here we are today, is the governor elect by the special grace of God. Prediction does not win election for anybody. Just like my brother said, we are going to the polling units. Where is Obi in my polling unit? Where is Tinubu in my polling unit? At the end of the day, don't be surprised. Some people will still come up tomorrow to say, yes, the rating has changed. It is now the turn of APC or the turn of NPP. All these are political gimmicks. We are used to it. But we are practical in PDP. We want to go into this election from the polling unit, attack the election from the polling unit. And we are sure that with the introduction of a Beavers machine, we are not going to lose this election this time around. We are going to win. And with the caliber of the candidate that we are putting forward, Atiku Abubakar, tell me which polling unit the name does not sound or its presence is not known nowhere in this country. And that is why he remains the formidable candidate to be defeated. He is formidable, and I can assure you, 2023, PDP is winning this election as well.
All right. Well, it's interesting. It's only one poll done by a group of organizations that have put this together. There might be many more polls that will be conducted using different styles and different formats to conduct it. But, I mean, we're just getting, these are feelers ahead of the election, getting also talk about the issues and what matters to Nigerians. But let's take a look at that list that was released by the organizing secretary of your party once again, and perhaps a few talking points from there. If you look at the structure of it, the chairman, Governor Udom Emmanuel, and the manner in which things are being balanced in as far as the composition or the constitution of that campaign council is concerned. You look at it and the different deputy director generals. So the director general is the governor of Sokoto State, the former governor of Cross River State, the DG operations. And these are the issues that have come up in your party. The Director General from Northwest, the DDG operations from the South-South, Professor Adewale, DDG administration from the Southwest, Raymond Dokwesi, DDG technical systems from the South-South, Senator Okesilieze Unwodo, DDG research and strategy from the Southeast. Was this deliberate? Because you are closer to the candidate. Was this deliberate, considering the agitations in your party?
Yeah, of course, you need to balance, all of these things for you to be able to. Like I said, this campaign council took into consideration, the need to bring the party together, because the candidate and the party indeed recognize the fact that we need to go into this election united. It's just to balance. It's an organization that is out to balance, to make sure that every zone it's about it's for inclusivity.
So your candidate and your party realized that there was a misstep at some point.
In politics, a lot of things happen. You may not get everything right at this, all the time. But
so I'm asking,
to make
did you guys realize that there was a misstep? It's a question.
What mistake? Mistake where? There was no mistake anywhere. But when you are doing election, when you are going to an election, you must make sure that, because in politics there are bound to be, issues, challenges. But when you identify them, you address them, and you just address them.
Okay, so you said there was no misstep. So why was it addressed?
No, it's realizing that we need to bring everybody together. It's inclusive. We're talking inclusive. We want everybody to be included. That's it. It doesn't mean there are crises. No. Where are the crises coming from? Who are the people that are involved in the crisis? Who are they? There are people who said, okay, national chairman must go for one or two reasons. To me, it's a normal thing, it's a genuine request. It's just a simple request. And the party is responding to it. So, no, as far as I know, I've always told everybody that there's no crisis in PDP. And that's what you've seen today exhibited.
Ms. Ode, I mean, you've been involved in different campaigns of your party. Does your party need almost 350 members of a campaign council? How
Don't be surprised even if we increase this to 500. It's just to give everybody a sense of belonging and just to engage everybody. And just like I said, that some names does not feature in the council does not mean they are not important. And we will not want the press to create the impression that because the name is not there, the person is not being carried along. That is not it. Everybody in PDP is important. And that is why we are relying on their vote, on their capability, and we want everybody to work for the party. So it's not an issue. Whether we are 300 or we are 500, this is our internal arrangement to ensure that we
when
win
you put
in
your
2023.
when you put your party trouble, when you push it to the press, I will always fight against that. Whatever you politicians are battling within your ranks is your problem. We in the media, journalists, we are the mirror of the society. Whatever is happening is what we report. It's your problem. And when Ladimeji was talking about the fact that there was no crisis, I wonder why your principal was going to Wiki and going everywhere to meet with people. But the question,
don't miss the point. Don't miss the point.
Hold on, Ladimeji. Okay. The question I would like to follow up on with the Duran is the fact that the likes of Bukola Saraki, the likes of Yinsam Wike, the likes of there is another person there that whose name is also very prominent, but they were sandwiched with all of us in the past. I'm looking at history of your party now. These people have played major roles. Do you think that the party is going to miss their role, considering their prominence in the party and, of course, their political standing in the country?
We need experienced leaders, people who have been in an election in the past, people who knows the strategy of winning election. And that is why in the campaign council, everybody is being brought forward to come and work for 2023 presidential race. So I think you should give us the credit that we have enough assets in PDP through which we can prosecute this election towards winning.
Okay, so the question I'm asking, I know you're very good with words and you try to dodge away from it. My question is this, and I'll give you an analogy. If you have in the football team a Messi, a Ronaldo, and in the past, at the Champions League final, they've come through for you, they've scored goals, crucial goals, and you have another game and you put them not only on the bench, you put them in the reserve. Reserves are not listed in the team. So you put them in the reserve. And that's why I was asking, if you have the likes of Yinsam Wike, Bukola Saraki, these are just two people. There are others in your party. They are just sandwiched in that campaign council. And I'm saying these are prominent. These are major key members of your party, leaders of your party that have followership. And you just sandwich them into the campaign council. Would your party miss them at the campaign?
You are the one trying to create, I wouldn't call it misunderstanding. You are trying to create your own word by using the word sandwich.
No.
Every member in the party is important. Or are you now telling me that because my name does not feature in the party, I'm not important? Of course, I am important in my state, in my local government, in my ward, and in my polling unit. So what we are saying in essence is nobody is being, as a member, even as a member, we understand their importance, and that's why they are there. And Governor Aminu Tambuwa has never claimed to be an encyclopedia of knowledge that knows everything. And that is why everybody is being involved, so that at the end of the day, the decision will be all encompassing and we are going to win the election.
Okay, I'm not the one that is trying to create. So you always try to push this thing back. So, and I'll give you the number on which some of the people that I mentioned, where they lie in your party. So in ranking, if you're listing it, you're listing the presidential candidates, some of the leaders of the party, the governors. They come very top. And how many Senate presidents do you have in your party? You have a former Senate president, and you put him, I'll put the number where he ranks. And the reason why I'm asking you whether or not you will miss them if they are not playing a major role. But let me allow the major, so that the wrong will not say I'm the one creating it. please.
I'm going to align with him because you are the one creating this. That's
really?
Yes.
So you're blaming me for what your party? I didn't create this.
See,
Your party created it.
Yes, the party created this, and the party has a reason for doing this.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's true that we have leaders of the party, stakeholders who are highly experienced, and it's always important that you bring them on board. You count on their wealth of experience, their reach, the network, and all of that. And I think that's what the party has done. There's no, okay, tell me any presidential campaign council that you have not seen lists like this being, even when we call them, even if there's something called reserves in the military. The reserves are those that you bring in times of war to help you push the war to success. So you need to go back to them and bring them, whether they are serving or not serving. So you can't run away from the fact that you need everybody, like my brother said, to come on board to win. The idea, the focus is how to win this election. And how do we win it is by bringing all our arsenals, into the field. And that's what the PDP has done. So we don't want to create a situation whereby somebody is saying that some people are sandwiched. No, this is a team that is put together to achieve a result. And if need be that we still tamper with it and still add more, we'll still add more. The opposition party did the same. They brought people who are either serving or who are former into their campaign council. The number doesn't really matter. Where your name is on the list doesn't really matter. My name is on 323. Am I not important? And there are people who are not even on that list. Are they not important? Like my brother said, everybody is important. We know ourselves. And by the grace of God, PDP is going to win this election.
It's interesting. I'm just noting that Wike is on number 13. Bukola Saraki is on number 26. But you guys said it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
Okay, thank you so much.
Even they know what it is all about.
Before Duran says I'm the one creating it, I didn't put them on number 26 and number 13.
It doesn't matter.
But these are some reactions that are getting towards your party. Maybe you go back and adjust things like the way you have adjusted.
The party is always sensitive, honestly, to anything that, and it's good. We thank you for bringing that up, but the party will address it appropriately. Just trust us. We know what to do at every
point. It's a family affair.
It's a family affair.
That's the language. I love that language.
Yes, and it has always worked for us.
Former Deputy National Police Secretary of the PDP. Thank you so much indeed for talking to us from your red room. Thank you indeed.
Thank you very much for
having me. And Ladimeji Fadi is a member of the PDP. Thank you indeed for joining us.
Thank you very much, I'm happy.
We take a break, everyone. And when we come back, there's some critical issues that have been raised, some questions about the processes leading to the 2023 election. This gentleman right here on your screen, Samson Itodo and Hamza Lawa, will be talking to us about the protection of the integrity of the poll. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Thank you so much, everyone, for staying with us. There are a series of issues that have generated heated debate across the land over the 2023 general election. Some of these issues include voter registration and the integrity of it, and the purported discrepancies in the INEC. Some of the registered INEC is released for vetting, and INEC has said it's taking care of some of them. And some of these other issues, the agitations from politicians that there are plans to rig the election. Tonight, we're going to be assessing what INEC has done so far, the process leading to the elections, and how we can protect the integrity of the poll. I'm being joined by the Executive Director of YEG Africa, one of the organizations who monitor the election, as Mr. Samson Itodo, and as well as the Executive Director of Connected Development, Mr. Hamza Lawa. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for coming tonight.
Thank you.
I'm indeed very I'm looking forward to us discussing the place of the young people in this election and how important they are. But let's begin the conversation in the area of integrity of the poll with Mr. Itodo. Give us a sense of the agitation that we have seen. We had Mr. Festus Okoye of INEC who said, look, there is no problem. People have highlighted and brought forward. In fact, there is a polling unit where almost everyone in that polling unit was born in the same year. And you see some people with a certain age, and their picture looks like they are 3 times that age. And sometimes you see a male picture with a female code just beside it. What can be done, or what do you think could be responsible for this?
Well, I think it's important to understand the entire value chain of the voter register management, that there are different layers and there are different steps. Now, and the reason why you have these different steps is to deepen the credibility of the voters register. And so when the field registration is concluded, the data is consolidated, and then INEC applies the ABIS, which is the Automated Biometric Identification System. And what that simply does is to subject all the data gathered from the field to certain tests, things like facials, things like the biometric capture, whether those data were captured accurately in line with the guidelines. And so INEC has to clean up the register, because you have to see things like invalid or multiple entries. And then after that, you have a cleanup register where the PVCs are then produced from that register. But then the law also provides for display claims and objections. And INEC had displayed the register, the preliminary register, after the CVR. So people can go and say, hey, this person who is on this register is not meant to be on the register because this person is dead, or people have mistakes on their names. Like you talk about, there are cases where you have images of males when the actual voter is a female. There are issues relating to errors in the date. And I say these things are derived from human error and then system error. And it is not in any way new, because it happens to every system. So what is critical is the fact that INEC's cleanup system is able to detect that there are multiple registrants. That system is also able to detect that there are wrong people who are on the register. And the statement issued by INEC, I'm sure, is in response to this expose by the CUPP or so, because INEC was responding to that. And say, yes, nobody has been added to the 84.4 million registered voters. So after the cleanup process, then these people will be added to the register. So the fact that INEC system is able to detect this clearly shows that there's some level of confidence. I think it's important that we note that there's also an attempt, to delegitimize the voters register. And I say this as a leader of an organization that has audited the register. There are gaps in the register, no doubt. There are dead people on the register, no doubt. But to a large extent, we do have a credible register. And we wait for INEC. It concludes its cleanup process. And then it should complain to Nigerians, like it has done in the past, to say these are people who are on the register who ought not to be in register, and we have deleted and invalidated.
So quickly, something, allow Hamza to come in, but it's a security issue. I mean, security in the sense that how did those data and those registrations get into INEC's system in the first place?
Absolutely.
So if you have dead people, who registered a dead person? I mean, these are systems where people were finding problem in registering in the first place. So some people had their way in registering, and they were registering wrong people that were not in existence at all. These are some of the questions that have been posed. And in the past, we've seen that the people who are not supposed to be on the register are on the register. Ineligible people are being found on the register. So there's a big question mark on
and I think this is where INEC, and we hope that, INEC investigates this particular issue. And if there's any INEC staff who is complicit, who has, contributed, to this particular issue of where you have people, ineligible people on the voters register, those individuals have to be sanctioned and they have to be penalized because it's an electoral offense.
Yeah.
And so INEC owes a duty to the Nigerian people to investigate this particular issue and then come up with its findings. For now, we'll wait till the Electoral Commission conducts that, but INEC needs to know that it cannot sweep this under the carpet. The statement is clear, but it needs to go beyond that to investigate. And if its staff is complicit, like during the CVR, there are cases where INEC officials were asking, were exploiting, people, asking them to pay money before they get registered.
Yeah.
There are cases where INEC has sanctioned. You see, in cases like Benue, INEC took action. But INEC needs to tell Nigerians what it's doing, to purge,
to create a firewall.
Itself.
Sometimes it's not easy. So the question here, is, Amzad, which I like you to respond to, is: are these bots, are these robots that have made this happen? People will say, in fact, if you're going to be fraudulent, try to play some, put some wisdom in your fraud activities, where you have almost a whole polling unit born in 1983. The person who was putting those data definitely was not smart. Putting one picture across for several 40, 50 people and putting female against male picture. Could this be, like Samson mentioned, maybe a system error, or these are just robots or bots that are doing this? But what lesson can we take away from that?
I don't think these are bots or robots, because if we say they're bots or robots, what it means is they've been, INEC system have been infiltrated. That's when you have spyware or malware, that's what create bots and robots in a system. I think that it's a machine error. And I think we should give INEC a benefit of doubt. Why is their response time and being even transparent about it? If they wanted to hide something, they wouldn't have placed those papers on the wall, because I'm sure officials in INEC have seen this. But because they're transparent and they have nothing to hide. So for me, I believe that we should give them room to gather their facts and investigate this matter and then inform the Nigerian people. And, INEC is quite responsive lately. And they have been responsive. So for me, let's not, jump the gun. Let's give them time. But I also think that the National Assembly has a responsibility to at least even call for a public hearing and try to get an ad hoc committee to investigate the matter. They owe it to the Nigerian people to hold INEC accountable. We're trying to get answers from a people's perspective, because the National Assembly is a people's assembly. So I believe a public hearing is not far-fetched, and maybe officials from INEC can come and answer some very important questions and clarify what actually went wrong and what they're doing, to ensure that the system has all the firewall that is needed as we go into 2023.
All right. There are other issues. I'll come to the issue of the young people and some of the issues relating to what you said in Okene when you were speaking at that gathering. But Samson, let me quickly come back to you. There are other issues that have been raised by politicians. In fact, I was reading a report relating to the ERAD and coming from Osun election. You were laughing. Does your organization have a response to the manner in which our election has progressed, the integrity of the process? Because we need to protect the process such that we can have an election that we can all be proud of.
No, I see. We need to note that we've made significant progress, and this incremental progress is driven by, one, citizens' awareness and that demand for credible elections. A lot of Nigerians, want their votes to count. They want to elect leaders that would address the problems that they face. And they believe in the electoral process. This is why you see this high turnout of people. Secondly, the pressure for electoral reforms. We've got a terrific electoral law that seemed to have revolutionized our elections with electronic transmission of results, as we saw in previous elections. INEC's independence is also safeguarded. There's just a lot of reforms within our electoral process, and we must commend the Nigerian people, quite frankly. We didn't get here because Nigerians were docile. We got here because citizens demanded for credible elections, to the extent that representatives of state, have prioritized this particular issue. But I think the point I say it's just unfortunate, because that was just clear mischief. There was never a time Channels TV or Yaga Africa in our ERAD report did declare anyone winner. We were very clear about the outcome of Ekiti and Osun, and we stand by those outcomes, that the results declared by INEC for those two elections were a reflection of the votes cast, because they were consistent with all the results that we gathered, both from the parallel vote tabulation as well as the ERAD. And do urge, because this is an election year, and so politicians should refrain from engaging in mischief and using reports and statements from election observer groups, manipulating them to deceive the public. But Shehu, you see the beavers, you can see what actually happened, that you have a litigation somewhere in Imo, calling on the courts to actually issue, a ruling that the beavers should not be used for the election.
But we understand that the lawyer, that the person on whose name the case was being filed, his signature was forged and his identity was fraudulent, taken to file that case in court.
But that's what we know. But what that tells you is there are people who are out there who don't want the credible elections in 2023. There are people who are out there who are against the popular will of Nigerians. They don't want these beavers because they know the beavers safeguards the vote of the Nigerian people. And this is why Nigerians need to rise up and continue to demand that the beavers is used for the elections, both for electronic accreditation and transfer of results, but also extending it. The National Assembly resumes next week. And I think what the National Assembly should also do is, when they consider these nominations into INEC, these resident electoral commissioners, they should ensure the scrutiny, and for people who have political and partisan leanings, they shouldn't confirm those nominees just to safeguard the integrity of the elections.
Let me, I don't know if my producer can put up the figure, the table showing the registration of 12 million in 2022, and it shows this is not quite okay. So this is the new completed. Yes, brings us to 96 million, but it will be. It will be improved down later. But I like Amza to respond to the number of young people that have come into the picture. Now, over 70% of the 12 million people who registered are young people between the age of 18 and 46. So it means something. If you look at the over 51 or almost 60%, so there you go. So this is in 2019. Over 51% are between the age of 18 and 43. It tells us one thing. If the voter register goes to 90 million, we will have more young people voting. If this group of people alone form the bulk of the voting in 2023, there will be a significant change, isn't it?
Oh, yes. And it's really exciting. And this also sends a strong signal that young people now believe in this process. And they want to not only be part of the process, but actually drives the outcome of the process. And I think that because of the level of conversation and awareness, I think we should pat ourselves at the back, civil society and the media. And if you look at the last days of the continual voter registration, look at the massive turnout. And I'm quite optimistic about this and really excited. Even colleagues and friends and citizens in the diaspora flew back into Nigeria just to register, in the system, and they promised to come back to cast their ballot. So again, what this also tells you, Seun, is with all of this, it means that we would also deal with voter apathy. So there will be no apathy because there was no registration apathy. So if we can get the vote out, what this tells you is young people will decide what becomes the fate and political history of Nigeria in 2023. And for me, this is bold. This is a message to say that as campaign season starts, you must focus on issues. And I'm quite excited that the conversation have changed. It's not all about, the frivolity. Now people are focused on issues that affect you and I: insecurity, job, healthcare, education. And people are saying, how do you get this money? Are you increasing taxes? How do you create jobs? How do you create wealth? How do you ensure equity, justice, and fairness? What happened to women? What happened to people with disability? What is the place of young people? And what is the definition of young people? For the first time, no one have come out to tell us what is the definition of young people in their government. We've listened to all the front runners. Some of them want to take back the country and hand it over to young people. What does that mean? Are you saying that all your cabinet members will be young people? Is your definition of young people 60 or 70 years? Is it, between, 30, to 45 or 50? So it's really exciting and encouraging. But the politicians should watch because now is the time for youth. And obviously, we're going to take, the destiny of Nigeria into our hands and deliver it back on good governance.
All right, I'll give both of you 30 seconds each for your closing thought. And Samson, we had an election in Kenya. There's a lot of reactions and a lot of development that came out of that. It's a very good instruction for Nigeria and the way we should go. What are your thoughts about the expectations and the hopes and aspirations of many Nigerians towards the 2023 election? Just in 30 seconds.
I think Nigerians expect that the campaigns, as they commence in the next few weeks, will focus on the issues, and they hope that they won't be as toxic as we have seen in the last couple of weeks, that they focus on issues and explain to Nigerians, the how. But more importantly, Nigerians don't want to sell their votes. And so the politicians need to know that people are determined to vote on issues.
Your parting shot, Amzad.
Our biggest threat is fake news, misinformation, and disinformation. And now we even have deep fake. So as we go into the campaign season, people should really be wary of the information, particularly in the digital space. And lastly, I think INEC needs to review her guidelines for election. One of the lessons we got from Kenya is, they open the polls from 7 and they close by 5 p.m. And they just have about 22 million people in their register. Now, after INEC cleans up the register, it will be over 90 million. We just have from, 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. I think we need to increase the timing.
Gentlemen, thank you so much. I'm very optimistic about 2023 elections. It does look,
as well.
And I hope that it's not Armageddon like some people are professing. It will be good for our nation. Thanks, Samson and Amzad, for
always a delight. Thank you.
That's our show for tonight, everyone. Many thanks for watching. I'll see you on Sunday, 8 p.m. I have something, a surprise for all of you. We'll see you then on Sunday. Bye-bye.